Thank you for investing your time to share it with me so that I can share wonderful ideas and things with you about ASP home staging. We're going to talk about, can you really make money as a home stager? Is there business out there in this economy? What is home staging? And as I posted on our site, I'd be talking about the economics of home staging. Well, what do I mean by that? And then ideas about staging different rooms and much more. This hour is going to fly right by, I promise you. I, again, welcome you and really have so much passion about sharing with you, no matter where you are, where you live, or where you're from. I really believe that it's such a wonderful thing to stage properties and such a wonderful business to be in. All properties should be staged when they come on the market because you see their home becomes a house and the house becomes a product. So it's really important that that product look the very best, and as the buyers come, that it really shows the buyers the potential of living there. No one will buy a home until they mentally move themselves in. And to do that, the house has to be staged. The scene needs to be set so people can actually visualize their own things there. Now, what is home staging? Well, as the creator of home staging, I have the definition that home staging is preparing a home for sale. Let's not complicate home staging. Confucius said that genius is taking the complicated and making it really easy to understand. And I believe we are all geniuses. We all have that creativity on the inside of us. And you were drawn to this webinar and to staging because of the creativity on the inside of you. So home staging is a simple act, really, of preparing a house for sale. I always like to say that we do the best possible with what we've been given, with the budget that's allowed, wherever we are. What home staging is not is that it's not decorating, and there are so many differences between decorating and home staging. They are totally two separate things. Now, decorating is really personalizing a property. So if you or I were decorators and, the people aren't moving and we go to see them and the lady of the house just loves pink and purple, well, we'd probably have pink and purple everywhere for her because that's what she would want. In other words, the house would be personalized. That's what some people do all over the world as they are living in their homes. However, when it comes time to put that house on the market, that's when, as I said, the home becomes a house and the house becomes a product. Well, ASP home staging is then depersonalizing the property. That way, the house appeals to the most amount of buyers possible. Now, this is a property that was on the market about a year and a half. This is actually the living room. To the right, you see a French door. That goes to the entry hall. When you came in the entry hall, well, there were about 35 pieces of artwork on the walls, and it made the entry hall seem much smaller. However, here in the living room that we're looking at, they're using it as a toy room. That's great while they live there, but not for selling. These are all stickers that have been added to the wall, including this girl, which is a rather large sticker. We counted, and there were over 175 stickers in the living room for the children. Now, as we look at the house and the different rooms, we always want to stage with the purpose for the room was built. We want to stage around that. So as the builder built this as a living room, it really needs to be put back as a living room. Now, we love our children, and they love their toys. And so the key is, which toys are they playing with the most? Because the parents and the children need to go through that, box up the ones that they're not using a lot, and then take the other toys and whatever cabinets will fit as we see in front of us, and move it upstairs to where the children's bedrooms were. And there was plenty of space in one of the bedrooms to also make it a part playroom. And by doing that, then, this is going to be able to go back to looking like a living room. Now, in the lived-in homes, in our ASP courses, as I share with you today, we use the lived-in home as a shopping center because we're always looking for things that we can use in different rooms. And as I share freely with you today, I hope also that it really impacts you on how much information I can cram in an hour. And just imagine what our 2-day course for realtors is like and our 3-day course for home stagers is like. It's just filled to the brim. And I talk as fast and share as much and way more as I'm sharing with you today. So doing what I just said, this is the after. Now, this was not about spending any money. Where did the artwork come from? It came from the hallway. Remember I said there were 35 pieces in the hallway, and they were very nice. These are 2 of them, and others we used in other rooms around the house. The piano had been crowded with too much furniture in another room. So bringing it here, setting it at an angle, opens up more space in the room. That way the 4 walls are really seen better. And look about the bouquet that's on the piano. What are those? Well, they're sticks. And you and I know that sticks are really in. I mean, Pier 1 sells them, and Cost Plus World Market sells them. I can even get them at the grocery store. So when I go in to stage a house, I take 2 things in addition to hammers and screwdrivers and all the things you would expect. I take in a pair of clippers and a ball of rope. Now, the pair of clippers I used in the backyard to cut the sticks that these people had in their backyard. Why do they need to buy them when they already have them in their yard? So they look beautiful there. And again, looking at the before and the after, there's such an extreme comparison. And all the rooms, which had been crammed full of possessions, looked so beautiful once they were staged. And of course, the house sold the following week after sitting there for a year and a half. Now, this is a very nice room. It has a nice view. The fog is out. You cannot see the view. They were going to use this, the husband and wife, as a baby's room. Well, after they had their beautiful baby, they put the baby in the bedroom next to this room, and yet the draperies on the window had been for the baby, but they didn't move them to the baby's room. The homeowner had done a lovely painting. That was for the baby's room, and down below you see there's a rug on the bottom left here. That's a baby's rug as well. Yet he's using this as his home office. Now, we want a neutral backdrop on the walls and the floors because that helps the house seem more spacious. What we don't want is a shocking purple bedroom next to a shocking red bedroom next to a shocking orange bedroom. It's kind of like the Ginsu knives approach. It just chops up the space. So by having more of a neutral backdrop on the walls and the floors, any real estate agent or broker will tell you that that's what buyers are looking for because they may not have things to go with that shocking purple bedroom that I just described or that shocking red bedroom, and they'll say, oh gosh, on this house we have to repaint all the rooms. No, we don't want to have time to do that. What else can you show us? And they go on to the next house. This room, however, is a lighter color, and lighter colors do not always have to be painted out to pure white. Another thing I want to point out is the house out this left window next door is only about 12 inches away. They were almost 0 lot lines. Now there is a blind up under the drapes that can be lowered, and of course the buyer can raise it up when they're looking at the house. So by having the seller declutter their desk, by having less cords, by changing the rug, changing the panels, we are going to keep the desk, the chair, the basket. We're going to keep the rocker. We're going to keep the side table. We're going to keep his wonderful awards and certificates from universities. And here's the after. And notice how the colors change so quickly just because of changing the rug and adding 4 panels that were on sale from Pier 1 for $12 each. Oh my goodness, how beautiful this is. Now this is staged. Now with the daylight savings time not in at this moment when we hadn't taken effect when we finished staging, it was dark outside. And many times when we finish our projects, it is dark outside because homes really vary. They're all unique, as you know, and some homes take longer than others. This is a very large 3-story home. So as I said, by changing the panels, and look at how the neutral fabric, the off-white look, is so much better than the blue daisy look. The furniture has remained. This rug, now where did we find this? Well, I've already said that we use the existing home as a shopping center. And so we found this rolled up in the basement. It wasn't actually being used. And what a gorgeous rug it is. And so the color scheme just fit in beautifully in this room. By turning the rocker and placing it here, so when it is daytime and not foggy, the future buyer can come in as they look at the house, sit in the rocker, and imagine living here. Now, there was no greenery in the room, so by adding a plant to the basket and also tying up the cords, and I'm always saying it's better safe than sorry. I just taught my 3-day intense webinar just last week, and there's another one coming up this month. And the people that were with me last week would say, oh my goodness, you wouldn't have believed it, because all we do is take 5 to 8 minute breaks. There are no hour lunches. And we work together straight through from 9 a.m. in the morning till 4:30 in the late afternoon on West Coast time. And so without a lot of breaks, I could really pack in a lot of information. As I go through and really hope you love this hour we share together, I hope you will contact our team at stagehomes.com. And when you go to stagehomes.com, you see the phone number as well as asking for our class specialists so they can explain more about our courses to you. So I'm always saying it's better safe than sorry. And this radiator should be off. However, when it's needed, it will be on. And either way, you want to have that desk pulled out a little bit. You never want it touching a radiator because you never know when somebody could turn it on. Also, the cords we want to make sure are away from the radiator, as well as when the plant is moved over here, which I do not have a shot of. I just want you to know that the cords were there, that we placed the plant somewhere right about here. It too is away from the radiator, and yet it pulls it all together. So once again, here's the before. And just changing the panels, decluttering, bringing in a different rug, closing the blind, rearranging the rocker, and adding that green. Green is really important. The whole environment changed. Now this is in a basement. Here the color is too dark. There are no windows in this basement. So without windows, we do want a lighter color. The people called this their junk room. It was in the basement, and they just put anything they didn't know what to do with down here in the basement. And we run into those quite a lot. And so the painting, we traded with one upstairs, and then some of this furniture was put into a storage pod from pods and then taken to be stored. Other things that were dumped in this room before we could use, and many pieces came from other rooms. So here's the after. Now with the walls painted a lighter color, the room has more energy, not less, it has more. With lighting added as well by having the lamps, because the ceiling light was already there. And where did this chair come from? The green chair came from the living room, and the kind of burgundy ottoman came from the living room. The right chair and the throw that's on it, the quilt, came from the master bedroom. This is merely a laundry basket that the clothes were put into the washer. You don't need to wash them. We just put them in there. And then these are packing bevels on the inside of the basket. And then where did the grasses come from? Well, as I get my paintbrush, again, those clippers work because they had tall grasses in their backyard, and cutting those looked really nice as well. Here's the entry that you can see. We angled the furniture here because in this particular room, it really set the scene the best, and we could create the best television and conversation area. Now, there was no more furniture for end tables, so using the speakers as end tables, the lamps were still at a height that really worked. So once again, here's the before and here's the after. Now, this is a vacant home, and of course we work with a lot of vacant homes. And as we look at this house, this took 3 years to build. That fireplace took 1 year to build. It was on the market for almost 2 years. This house had an elevator in it. It was a very high-tech house. And yet, buyers could not visualize where to put things. And vacant doesn't work on the market because you and I may have the imagination because of being drawn to staging and the industry that we're in. However, the average buyer, they're not in this industry. And so they really want to have the scene set. And that's what we need to educate realtors on, especially realtors and the public. A lot of the public is awakening to staging because they've seen it on television. They've seen myself on television, heard me on the radio as I promote our ASPs and our directories on stagehomes.com. When you become an ASP, you would be placed there as well as our International Association of Home Staging Professionals. And the public has read a lot of interviews on, in magazines and in newspapers and heard them on the radio. So by bringing in furniture, now this could be rental furniture from a rental furniture company, or it could be our own inventory, and setting the scene, now the buyer can come in, sit down, and talk about living in this space. Who said that we have to have anything on the fireplace? Remember I said it took a year to build? And my goodness, that builder didn't want anything on the fireplace. I didn't even want to put anything on the fireplace. In person, it was absolutely gorgeous. Also, not every bookcase has to be filled. You see, in the new construction houses, we want to show off the construction. A lot of builders have used model homes, and they're really getting away from that finally because of educating more and more builders about staging versus decorating as a model home. All those many years that I sold real estate, and when I came up with the concept, this is my 40th year since I came up with the concept and was doing it all those years by myself. It didn't have a name anywhere else in the industry, and people in the real estate industry just didn't talk about it because they were afraid. Many realtors are still afraid of what to say, and they don't know what to say. And so I called it stage. Let's set the scene, set the stage, because of my theatrical background. I have 3 degrees, and I'm not bragging. I hope that all of them bring together one of the reasons why, as you decide to have a training in staging, that you would choose stagehomes.com because of the many, many years of experience that I have and the courses that I've written, which are the leading business model in today's market. You see, one of my degrees is in education, and I really work hard and strive to be a great trainer and educator as best I know how. Also, I have a degree in music, and I dreamed I was going to be Barbra Streisand. I did end up Barb Schwarz, not Barbra Streisand, and yet I was in a lot of off-Broadway musicals and plays. So when I went into real estate, and sellers were, not wanting to really do anything. They just wanted to pack up at the end and move. However, the pricing kept coming down because the houses didn't look good, and that happens in today's market just as much as then. Houses are houses, pricing is pricing, and one day I said to a woman clear back in the early 70s, "Do you like the theater?" And she said, "Oh, I love the theater, but what that's got to do with selling my house?" And I said, I realize this is a lot like the theater. For every act in the play, we set the scene. And so I'm thinking about the buyers coming through. They're the audience. I would be your director. And then you are the star because you lived here. You live here, and she loved that. And you're the producer, you in the bank, because you own it. And then we have critics or other real estate agents that talk behind the listing agents and the seller's back. They name houses like the Cat P house or the Red Front Door house because it's hard for anyone to remember all the addresses, so they give them pet names. So the critics are really the other real estate agents. And we don't want anyone talking behind your back or mine. So I would like to share some ideas of setting the scene in each room with you. And she did about 90% of what I asked. I said we need to set the stage. And this house, not the one you're looking at, but the one I'm talking about many years ago, had also been on the market for almost 2 years at that time. And it sold the first week after I worked with her, and I said to myself, I think I'm going to give that a go again. I'm going to say that to the next person. Only that time I used Hollywood because they had a lot of Hollywood posters in the kids' rooms. Well, it worked there too. And the next house I used Disneyland because they had Disneyland posters. And if there's anything that's ever staged, it's Disneyland. And after 3 in a row selling, where they'd been sitting with other agents for a long time, I said, I really think I am onto something, and I'm going to call it staging. So for many, many, many years in Seattle, I was the only one that was staging, and I'm told the only one anywhere on the planet. So in 1985, my training career was born, and I began to speak a city a day for real estate boards and real estate companies across North America. In that one-day program, I taught people how to price listings, how to give a powerful listing presentation, how to market themselves, and I introduced my concept of home staging, which was about an hour and a half of an 8-hour program. I was very blessed to be able to teach live 1 million realtors in all of those cities those many, many years from 1985 to 1998. And then I decided to go back into the industry of selling. And as soon as I did that, of course, I started staging listings again. However, at that time, I said, you know, I have so many listings, I didn't have the time to stage them all. And so I asked 3 friends to become my stagers. And as I do have the federal trademark in the U.S. and Canada on the service of stage, you can see it on the government site as well as stagehomes.com. I said, I'm going to come up with a new course that's more detailed, because home stagers really need a detailed training of how to open, run, and build a home staging business. And it was the very first training of its kind. And to this very day, we keep adding new, up-to-date information. And we have the most benefits to offer you of anyone, in addition to all my experience. I share that humbly. I just feel I owe that to you and to also all the things that we have built for you to have. So as we take a look at this house, why the difference between bringing in the inventory or not, where this is vacant. Of course, this house had sat and not sold. And by setting the scene in every single room in this property, then the house sold. As I've already said, no one will buy a home until they see it as their home. No one's going to buy a house until they mentally move in. And they need to have space to mentally move their own things in. When a room and the whole house is cluttered, they tend to look at the seller's things instead of looking at the space. And so builders now have awakened to this, that they too do not want their showcase homes or the houses they built for spec to sell to anyone in the public, to have the buyer come in and start looking at all the decorating. They want them looking at the construction. And builders don't think of that right away. And so educating builders is really important. I had a meeting with Pulte Homes, the largest builder in the world, 5 years ago, and really helped them, they've told me, broaden their vision on this. And I began to stage their spec houses in their plats and their areas instead of having decorators decorate them. And they have continued to go to our iHouse chapters to find ASPs in the areas where Pulte builds to have the ASP stagers stage the houses that are brand new. Now, as we talk about and move into really the benefits of staging through the seller's eyes, as well as the economics of home staging, I came up with what I call ROSI. Now, most people in the public know ROI, return on investment. They talk about that when they think about their stocks, and investments they've made, and yet the greatest investment they're ever going to make is really their home, including people that are very, very wealthy. They may have boats, yachts, a number of things. The more wealthy they are traditionally, the bigger the mansion is, and this still affects them. Because what is Rosie? Rosie, I added the word staging, is return on staging investment. And we need to educate the sellers and the realtors about Rosie and really what's the benefit of staging. Well, number one, of course, is to get the house sold quicker. And when they sell quicker, they sell for more money. Because one of my many, many hundreds of sayings that I've developed through the years, which the industry is built upon, is longevity on the market means one thing, reduction in price. Because I was in the industry of real estate, and I do still have my broker's license with the state of Washington, because I'm training now, not selling, and yet I've been the top producer in the Seattle area a number of times, and bringing that real estate aspect, because really I invented staging in the real estate industry, not in the design or decorating industry. So it's very important for many, many reasons that we keep it in the real estate industry. And as we as ASP stagers team up with the realtors, we want to educate realtors and the public on the financial benefits to them of having the house staged. See, this includes staging the house on the inside and the outside. When the outside is staged but the inside isn't, they'll go in and turn around and leave. If the inside is staged and the outside isn't, then many times they won't even go in the house. So it's the whole property. Now, NAR, the National Association of Realtors, reports right now the average price reduction is 10 to 20%, with the normal right now at 15%. So when you take a $250,000 house, which is in upstate New York all the way to Southern California, to Miami, and back to Seattle, or into Toronto, Canada, or Victoria, BC, when you look at a house like that and a realtor drops the price only $5,000, believe me, the other agents will actually make fun of them. They'll mock them because they'll say, who does he think he's kidding? That's not even a price reduction. It has to be good size for other agents to give it attention and show it again. So based on those stats above, that would be $25,000 to $50,000 in a price drop. And on a $250,000 home, there normally would not be a $25,000 to $50,000 staging. So the price reduction is much larger than what a staging investment would be on a $250,000 home. Staging is not remodeling. Remember, those are two separate things. Adding a bedroom and bath is remodeling. Staging is working with the colors and getting it clean and having the clutter packed up. So therefore, in a $500,000 home, that would be $50,000 to $100,000. That's right. And we see this all over North America, as well as on a $1 million home from $100,000 to $200,000 price reduction. That's a lot of money. So when you compare dropping the price to the investment of a home, there's really no comparison at all. I think of a price reduction like a watermelon, and I think of the investment of staging like a grape. It's so much smaller than a price reduction, and that I really go into great depth and bring it up today as well in our ASP courses, because this is what really helps sellers understand the bottom line of staging. Now, the investment varies according to the house, of course, because each house is different. Whether it's vacant or occupied, could be new construction vacant, or it could be a resale vacant or a resale occupied. Each house is different. Now the range, and remember, this is not carved in granite. The average range goes from $500 to $5,000, where currently with the surveys that I do, in this current economy, the average creative staging service fee is $1,800. That doesn't mean on this other house we go to see that it's not $8,000, or on another home we go to see that it's not $3,800. It just really varies on location, such as Derby, Kansas, where I graduated from high school, or whether it's in downtown Manhattan. There's going to be a huge difference with the fees. Also, the $500 could be a consultation that you or I prepared and the seller does the staging, because there is a range there in the lower amount where we can tell them and write down what they need to do. However, then they do the work, yet we're paid to do that. So many times that $500 will be the consultation, and the $5,000 and in between would be the staging. The $1,800, I say again, does not include rental of the furniture. Yet when you think of that and compare to what we just looked at with a $25,000 price reduction on the $250,000 home minimum to a $200,000 price reduction on the $1 million home, which is happening in this economy, and in any economy you'll see that when the house is overpriced, there's no comparison really at all. Therefore, as we talk about this and the economics of home staging, staging is an investment. It's an investment in time, energies, and dollars, energy, and time, and that equals Rosie. I want to show you a subject property. And in addition to many things I teach in our course, this is one of them. I prepared 25 PowerPoints for our ASPs to use. And some of you may be aware that I founded the very first in the world and the most extensive, the Staging University. It's an online university for those that graduate, and we don't nickel and dime people. So everything is included in the tuition to take the class. That means the class itself, which is really worth the tuition that we charge and more. However, in that investment includes you being featured on our directory at no extra charge. For stagers, a website within our site at no extra charge. To put your houses up on stagedhomes.com as long as they're staged, no extra fee for that. And unlimited use of the Staging University as long as you are active and renewed. And you renew your membership once a year, which is a very, very small investment. Did you know we have 19,000 pages on our sites? That's true. We are one of the largest sites in the world. And when you look at the fact there are 250 million websites in the U.S., we're in the top 500,000 that are seen the most. That says quite a lot. So as I think about the Staging University and the vast amount of materials that are there, I call it a university because it really is. And there are different categories in the university, just like different buildings at a university. And so this is in one of the PowerPoints that I prepared along with many, many hundreds, thousands of other pieces for materials for our ASPs to use. So let's take a look at this property. Now, this is one of the rooms. It's a bedroom, and that's a sofa bed, and it's got this red thing over it. It looks like a pair of red lips. And the whole house, either the rooms in part of the house were too crammed or other rooms didn't have enough in them, like this one. And so as I've already said, using it as a shopping center, this is the after. So that we created with what they already had in different areas and used the bed with the fact these are blankets and sheets that are rolled back, layered back. It's not even actually a bedspread, and yet it works. And setting this up to look like, you know, a young lady, maybe 8 to 12 years old, a bedroom, much better than this. Now, in addition to seeing the pictures, though, I want you to see the history. Now, this is what it really cost these people, and this can seem like a long time ago, and yet Christmas and Hanukkah, wasn't that just a few months back? I mean, isn't it amazing how fast the time is going? Oh, my goodness. And so this property was brought on in June '09. It does seem a long time ago, and yet it's not. They were on for 3 months, took it off the market. And this is an agent that says, well, we'll just take it off the market. We'll bring it on the next day, and then buyers won't really realize that it's been on for 3 months. And they're really being very foolish and thinking that, because all agents in the multiple would know that it came off one day and went on the other day. They're not fooling anybody. And every buyer's agent is required to tell that to any buyer. So there's no fooling anybody, and the house was still not staged. So it's on for 3 months here, and then 6 months here. We're now up to 9 months that it's been sitting there. And the agent has been advertising and hold open houses And guess what they've also been doing? They've been asking the seller, drop the price, drop the price, drop the price. Now, the seller took it on the off the market, brought it back on, they waited a while, and then it was on for another 4 months. So now we're up to 13 months. And you know what actually happened here? The seller is the one that said to the agent, how come you've never talked to us about staging? And that's being said more and more around North America all the time. And so actually it was the seller that drove the staging, because at this point they said, you know, you've done all these ads and held all these open houses, nothing has happened in 13 months. And so I heard about the staging from reading an article or my neighbor or saw it on TV, something like that. So tell us about it. And we want to get our house staged. Now the agent is panicking because they don't know anything about it. They never brought it up to the seller. That has many ramifications also in some ways that I go into in class. And so right away then, they got a hold of one of our ASP stagers, and look at this. Under 5 days, it was under contract, and it closed within, what is that, it's about 3 weeks. And yet look at how long it sat on the market. All this wasted time, all this money going out with the ads and flyers and brochures that the agent has done, and meanwhile the seller is sitting there and they're paying their house payment, which is $2,000 a month. Yes, we do figure out the carrying cost times 13 months. That's $26,000 right there they've been putting out. Now, I didn't even put the expenses like electricity and heat in here. You take an average of $500 a month times 13, it would be approximately $7,000 here. Price reductions, though, this is really a big deal, because you see, either the house needs to be staged or the price is going to be dropped. And so with the realtors, and the majority do not know what to say or they're afraid to say it, instead of saying get the house staged, they say, well, let's just drop the price. Meanwhile, they're taking money out of the seller's pocket as well as their own, because you and I know that the agent is paid a percentage of what the house sells for. So without even the expenses, this has really cost the seller $111,000. Adding the 7 would be about $118,000 when you add the $7,000 in expenses. And yet look at what the investment in staging was. It was only $2,200. This is what I really teach our ASPs to teach their sellers and the agents they're working with. And we have many other ways that we teach them as well. And yet I'm openly sharing this with you in our free webinar today because it's of such value. And when I speak and teach, I always want to share ideas. And I am passionate. It seems like I'm possessed because as a creator of staging, I live, eat, breathe, and live it all day long, 24/7, and work on creating things for our ASPs. And you see there, here's the watermelon right here. This is the watermelon. This is the little grape when you compare them, because there's no way that they can even be compared at all. Let's look at what the agent gave up because of $85,000 price reduction. And as long as I say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% on commissions, I'm not price fixing. So I'll just pick one as an example, 6%. So that means as the price was dropped, the agent over time has lost $5,100 in commissions at the very least. And then when you take a look at the flyers, ads, time is money, calls with the seller, brokers open houses, public open houses, this is very low. As a broker, I know that that can be $1,500, it could be $2,000 a month, it can be very high. I put in very low to be really conservative. And when you take that times 13 months of sitting on the market, that's lost revenue that the agent put out on the expenses that I talked about here. That's a minus $6,500 minimum, because it's usually a lot more than that. So when you add up the lost commission and you add up the lost advertising expenses, you're almost at a minus $12,000 that the agent is already out of their pocket. So the $2,200, should the agent have paid for it, they'd be so much farther ahead than losing almost $12,000. And I'll guarantee you it was more than that because the expenses are higher than that compared to that $2,200. So there's really no comparison at all. whether you're a seller or whether you're an agent. This is why I'm all about educating the client and the realtor and the client. Education is power. And so too many times, stagers that have not been trained the ASP way do not educate the realtor or the public enough. And then the seller or the agent says, no, we're not going to do it. So in our courses, we really learn how to communicate with the sellers and the realtors so they don't say no, because it's for their own good, and this is just one of the many ways that we go into in class. Therefore, the investment of staging in your home is always less than a price reduction on your home or listing. Now, our stats we keep right on stagehomes.com. You can see them on the home page. And right now, 94% of ASP staged houses are selling in 29 days or less. You know, some are selling in like 2 days or 2 weeks, but that's the average. And those that are not staged are running from 145 days to 194 days, depending on the location and area. Also, the benefits and the return on every $209 invested in clean and declutter has a return of 586%, as well as lighten and brighten for every $375. The return is 313%. And just naming staging in and of itself, although these three, to me, are staging, and they really need to be averaged together. These are stats from HomeGain, and I would really encourage HomeGain to put them all together, because having the lights, music, and action, there's the lighten and brighten, and then having it clean and decluttered is what staging is in the first place. Either way you look at it, the return is high. Now, I go through the 7 C's of staging with you. Of course, because of our limited hour, I won't be able to share the depth on each one, and yet I can give them to you. And number 1 is clean, and I want the outside and the inside of the house to be Q-tip clean, because many people don't see their own dirt. You come to my house, you see things I don't see because I've gotten used to it, just like sellers. So it's got to be clean. Also, it's got to be clutter-free. Clutter eats equity, and it really does have a house sell for less, so it's got to be packed up. Color is so important, and in general, the background needs to be neutral. The floors and the walls, as I've already stated, and yet we want to have some punch because we don't want the house boring. So color can be introduced in things such as artwork, area rugs. You get the idea. Now, these top 3 I share with all sellers. The bottom 4 are really for our ASPs, for those of you on the webinar, because really compromise is a part of life. It's a part of friendship. It's a part of marriage. And staging is a part of staging as well. Creativity is what you and I bring to the party, and that's how I want us paid, is according to our creativity. So in the ASP course, on day 3, I really go deeply into how to build, open, and run a home staging business, how to price your business, how to be paid for your creativity, what's a bid, what's a proposal, what's the difference between, how do you put a quality bid together, and how do you present it, how do you put a quality consultation together, and how do you present it. What about inventory? How can we be creative with our inventory, and how do we charge for that, and how do we market our business? And again, that's based on creativity as well. And yet all of those things, the 3rd day is business day for our stagers. Day 1 is communication day. And until you would take the course, most of you would not really be able to understand what I'm talking about, because really most of us say words that push business away from us, as well as phrasing things. And so teaching the steps of ASP service on day 1 and the way to communicate with clients so that you walk out with a business almost every single time is really crucial. And people are always really surprised, they're almost shocked when I present on day 1 a better way to communicate. Day 2 is staging day. Now, in the classroom of our ASP courses, of course, we go out and stage for real a house in the afternoon. And that's really great to have hands-on experience doing that with the class. On the webinar, that is not possible. However, those that take the webinar then can go to a class of hours at any time for no extra charge and go on that live staging. Plus, I feel in the webinar course, because we don't go out in the field and because we don't take hour lunches, I can even pack more staging information in for you on day 2. So the webinar, the people that study with me end up getting both, is what they end up getting. And creativity is a key part of who we are. And we don't make money by selling things to people. We make money by creating a better environment and by creatively staging it. Communication, I just mentioned, was day 1, and how you and I communicate really does determine the amount of business that you have. Did you hear what I said? How you and I communicate really does determine the amount of business that you and I have. It's really, really the truth. The quality of your communication determines the quality of your business. It's a really big deal. And then staging day 2, and then business day is day 3 for our stagers. And then commitment. Now, you and I are committed to the process. We've got to make sure that both sellers are committed. Could be husband and wife, 2 women, 2 men, a mother and son. Got to have everybody committed, and the agent, because the agent can undermine you as a stager. And I teach that in class because, remember, I birthed this in the real estate industry, and I know how realtors think, walk, and talk. And I know where their pain is, and I know how to help them solve the challenges and how to help you get business working with the realtors from the realtors. Now, showing a quick project, this is when we were on the NBC Today show. This is a seller. This is his married daughter who did not live in the property, and this is myself, and ASPs who had come from areas around where the house was located, because it was in Michigan, and ASPs came from Indiana, Michigan, and Illinois to help stage. Now, this is the basement. It's a walkout basement or daylight basement, and this is the way that it was on the market being shown. He asked me, do you want me to do anything before you come? And I said, no, just have the way you show it. And so where does the eye go? It's really pulled all over the place. This is the after. Oh, my goodness, you feel it? Staging is a feeling, and it just feels bigger. It feels more comforting. It feels more peaceful, and the buyer can mentally move in. Here, there's so many things going on, and the eye is pulled in all directions. I always say to sellers, this is great for living, and yet for selling, that's why we stage your property. And here again is the after. Less is more. Here's the other end of the same room. Feels like the room is tipping over with all those bookcases. And this is the after. No wonder the property sold. This is the magic of ASP staging. And, you know, I love to have a good time, and I hope you're also having a good time. And, you know, I cannot help it. Sometimes I go, because I'm so excited about this. You know, you don't get into staging. It gets into you, in your blood, your corpuscles. And it is so creative that we want to stage more and more and more. And this is the reason why. Because when you go into an environment that looks like this, and then you can stage it and do it the ASP way, because frankly, there's a lot of different staging out there. And there's only one way, an ASP way to stage a house. And some of the staging I see out there that's not ASP staging really is not good. I see sometimes some really bad staging. And so we'll have people that have not had training or taken another training, and they'll say, you know, I really, really learned to stage when I took your class, because this is about key elements of what to do. And I teach you the philosophy, and I don't fish for you. I teach you how to fish. May I use that analogy, so that really the ideas are endless. Now here's another room. Now we use fabrics, but not like on the windows that are here. Everything I'm going to show you came from from other rooms in this house. Nothing was brought in from the outside. It's learning to use what the seller has in the most creative way in a lived-in home, so that we can create a better environment for the buyer to mentally move into. Again, it's just like, oh, I just love it. That's the magic of ASP staging. Now the kitchen is very clean. However, on the top of the cupboards and the counters, it's extremely cluttered. So by combining things and packing a lot up, and where did the rug come from? This came from another room where it didn't need to be. All of a sudden, Now we can sell the counters and not all the things on the covers and on the top of the counters. This is a teenage bedroom. There are 2 beds there, but there's only 1 teenager living in the room. And again, this is just the way it was on the market. This is too good to make up. And if one of you were to say, oh, people really don't show their homes like that, that tells me, I'm sorry, my dear, you need to go out and see more open houses, because yes, they do. This is average America on the market for sale. We see everything in open houses. We see everything when we tour houses. And all you have to do is go to open house from house to house to house, and be some staged, and then the majority will not. And even in this case, this was an open house, and yet the teenager's bedroom looked like that. And the listing agent just put his hands up and said, well, I just can't get her to do anything. I don't know how you get people to do things. And, you know, the seller said, well, her room's not as important as some of the others, so we're just not going to worry about it, which, of course, is really not the way that it works. We've got to stage the whole house because they're selling the whole house. So the drape on top of the blind is going to be taken down. These are lovely, but they're very dated. And then one mattress can be taken out. The dresser is going to be kept, but not with the doily on top, and the desk and the chair, and this is the after. Now we've got a much more pleasing room. Well, gee, where do you get the bedspread? It was out of their linen closet. They already had it, but they weren't using it. And this is simply a sheet, because we talk about working with fabrics and much more. And so by gathering it by hand and then tying it with the rope, there's my rope, and putting it on 3 nails or 3 hooks, the blind is still there for privacy they can bring down at night. And now this pulls the buyer into the room, which is what staging should do, where this one sends the buyer off to another house. They'll just lean in and say, oh, and go to another house. So this is a bathroom that's totally cluttered. Red is fine as an accessory, but there's too many busy, cluttered things here, and this is much better organized. And by bringing in the black, it grounds the red. So we do talk a lot about color in our courses. The outside of a property, I'm not fooling you, it's the same property. And here, people drove by. Here, they bought it. And the outside has got to be staged. Somebody may say, well, you added the fountain. No, it was here all along. It's right there. And so you can't sell it when you can't see it. Now our sites, we have 3 sites, and then I'm going to go into ideas about building your business. And they're very serious to me because I teach them in class, and I'm not afraid, nor should I be, to share them with anyone and to freely give you advice on that. StageHomes.com features you when you become an ASP. It's where you put your houses up. It's your access to the university, and it educates the public about you and staging. IHOSP is our International Association of Home Staging Professionals, and when you graduate as an ASP, we do not charge you more money for a membership. It automatically comes with graduating from class. And so that's another great benefit. And then you're featured on that site as well. Then we have our Staging Shopping Center, and that's for supplies for staging that you or anyone can find supplies on. Now remember, this is another site, the university, that's only for ASPs when they graduate. So our home page, as you can go to right now, and you can learn about our conference coming up. There's a banner right here in October. Only ASPs can attend, but there's plenty of time for you to become an ASP and then attend the conference, which is a 2.5-day, very exciting conference. It's jam-packed with education. This is where you would log into the university, and going on down, here's the stats that you can use at any time. Here's where you could watch the DVD on the Today Show. I showed you a few slides. People say that it's very educational about staging. Then the directory, people look for you according to zip codes or postal codes. And I just cut and pasted 3 together. Annie is going to get the business. I do not personally know her. She's done the best work here. This gal is not going to get any business because she didn't do her part after she graduated. This gal has a nice paragraph, but she didn't put her picture up, and she has no banners here. How did Annie get the banner? When you put up a house, you get a banner. When you finish your site within our site, you get a banner. She has her own site, And of course, out of these 3, people are going to bring the business to her. We also have the ability for you to see how many people are seeing you on stagedhomes.com. That's a big deal, don't you think? And if you want more, then you need to rewrite your profile. Also, your website within hours. This is just a part of Annie's, and she really did good work. And then our portal for houses that are for sale that you put up, but they have to be ASP staged. And here are some of Annie's. Then we have the individual houses, and we have a photo gallery there. You can also report the stats to your sellers and the agents you work with on how many times the house has been seen. And that's really a great hook, as the advertisers would call it, to keep your sellers happy. Then the university, it's too big to go into in this short amount of time, but now you know you're there because it says welcome to the Staging University. And it calls you by name on every page. In the university, there are forms. We already have the forms for you to use with your sellers, and we don't charge you for those. It's turnkey. Marketing materials to use with your sellers, education materials to use with your sellers, over 5,000 before and after pictures to use as examples, our logos, our banners, tutorials, I already mentioned the PowerPoints. We have a marketing idea portal of how other ASPs are marketing their business, staging idea portal of how they are, of ideas for staging, and the legal documents. And this is a big deal. I was the very first in the world to prepare those for you. When you talk to a seller and you're going to work with them, you better have it in writing. So we have those for you as well. Here's our international site, and I mentioned you would be featured there. We have a wonderful foundation, and the foundation is really there to assist those in need. And therefore, we have our Worldwide Staging Service Week from September 12th to the 19th. And projects are done all around the world, especially North America, that you volunteer an hour or a day or a week as an ASP. And the shopping center I already mentioned. So keys to building your business. And I would say write these down because I teach this in class. Obviously, I can go into more depth there. However, these, when I really look at the thousands of people that I've trained, it comes down to these 5 things over and over again of how successful they are. And number 1 is attitude. It begins and ends with you. Who's responsible for your business? It's you. And that has to do with your attitude. Marketing skills. Those that succeed the most are not afraid to hear no. They get out there, they do what we teach them in class, and they keep informing the public and realtors about who they are and what they do. Market, market, market. Doesn't mean you sell a thing. What it does is educate. That's what marketing really is. And the better you educate, the better you're paid. Business skills. It's very important to have your business staged as well. And so the software you use, how you organize your office is very, very important. Because some people, tend to have their businesses very disorganized, and that doesn't work. You've got to be on top of it at all times. Staging talent, of course, that's important. That's what we are stagers. And it's really important that we use our creativity, keep that fresh all the time, and not keep just doing the same thing over and over again. That's what day 2 is about, is never being out of ideas in staging, because every home is different. And then communication skills, I cannot strive enough. And once you learn the ways to communicate, because staging communicates a message as well, then your business is even better. So as you look at becoming an ASP stager, where does the money come from? Now I'm going through these quickly, and yet I'm sharing them with you. Number 1 is consultations with sellers. Number 2 is staging work, and there's all kinds of staging, whether it's with seniors, staging boats, new construction, rental of your inventory. That will make you money. Retail sales. And there are buyers. I talked to an ASP yesterday that said they're buying the house, they want to buy everything that's in it, which is her inventory. Personal shopping service. Of course, you can shop and be paid for it. How great is that? Helping people move into the new home and staging the new home. Referrals, asking you shall receive. Staging to live is a spin-off of staging to sell. Staging to work is a spin-off of staging to sell and staging to live. Event staging, because once they work with you to stage their house to sell, then they get the idea, and you suggested, of course, that you could stage their daughter's wedding and holiday staging as well. All of those are multiple sources of income. Now, as you become an ASP, we have a fabulous manual for you. And once you graduate, it can be a little overwhelming to some. And so I've done a to-do list for you, 55 things to do first when you graduate. Using the university is crucial. And updating your profile and your site within our site on a regular basis. Having all your homes on the stagehomes.com site. And then I also invented the career book. And it's really your portfolio to show clients ahead of time on the quality of your work. So you receive, as a stager, the CD of the pages and how to put that together. Then our blog. You can join that now or at any time. And it's very educational. It's not a gossip column. It's where I write new information for stagers to use, and it's open to anyone, and it's on the blog. And then, coming back to class, some of our top earners have come back 3, 4, 5 times. You know, to learn it all in 3 days and then expect to remember everything is asking a lot. And so great people in sports are constantly practicing, and coming back to class repetition is the mother of learning. Becoming involved in our wonderful association, remember you're a member the minute you graduate at no extra fee. Then we have chapters where you can network, have mentors, continue your education, and become involved, of course, with our Worldwide Staging Service Week. Also, you receive the beautiful manual, which is like a turnkey business in a box. It's not in a box, but it's in the manual. My books are available at the library. And then CDs that I have for you as a gift. And then the university, we're using that over and over again. So I hope that either later this month or in the future you're going to decide to become an ASP. I also hope that you really enjoyed what I talked about today, because I gave you information that you can use in the next meeting you have with any seller or any realtor. These are ideas that are proven that work. And so as we talked about the different ideas, to use those, because knowledge is power as long as you implement it. And then to call Krista at 800-392-7161 at any time, or you see her email. It's not Christy, it's Krista. C-H-R-I-S-T-A. And we have savings that are happening right now that you want to ask Krista about as well. I hope this shows you the amount of information that I can pack in an hour. And didn't I tell you this hour is going to go really quickly? Because it already has. And I look forward to working with you in the future. I always say this from the bottom of my heart is, may you be prosperous, may you be healthy, may you be happy, and God bless. Thank you for being with me on my webinar today.